لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا محمد وآله وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. How to study contemporary capitalism? Then my first answer is not as an economy but as a society, as a system of social action and a set of social institutions falling in the domain of sociological rather than today's economic theory. So we had covered up till this point. This is in fact the tradition of political economy. Political economy in the 19th century. Political economic theory was to identify, explaining what political economy did, actors and interests. So actors, subjects, interests, underlying or hiding behind the laws of movement of the economy. Translating economic relation into social relations and showing the former to be a special case of the latter. Treating economy as a society, or as society and politically constructed or constituted, or as socially and politically constructed or constituted. Beckett and Streak, 2008. This is a paper by Streak and Beckett Jones. Economic sociology and political economy, a programmatic perspective. One of the working papers of the Max Planck Institute for the Study of Societies. Okay, so let's see what this description of political economy has anything to say about how to study contemporary capitalism. Okay, so political economic theory was to identify the actors and interests actors are the economic agents, and I guess what are their interests as economic agents, and their personal socially situated interests, as well as the interest of the subsystem of economy, and then the interest of the whole system. And obviously within political economy, different authors had their own different views, and then Marx developed his own critique of political economy, even though he himself was a political economist in that sense. So political economic theory was to identify the actors and the interests underlying or hiding behind the laws of movement of the economy. So there's a technical economics which claim to find in the manner of natural sciences laws of economy. One of the most famous one is law of supply and demand, for example, and its relation to the price, for example, commodities, things. On the other hand, the purpose of political economy was to uncover the preconditions of the functioning of these laws. So political economy doesn't treat these laws as universal laws, but at least this is how I understand it. Universal laws, but specific law which are able to function because their functioning is made possible by a particular social order. So this economy is anchored in and conditioned upon a particular type of social order, a particular type of society. That is the view of political economy, or that's one way of reading fruitfully political economy. And Streak is almost saying the same thing, but in slightly different words, slightly different way. Okay, so this is in fact the tradition of political economy. In the 19th century, political economic theory was to identify the actors and interests underlying or hiding behind the laws of movement of the economy, translating economic relations into social relations and showing the former to be a special case of the latter, that economic relations. Treating the economy as a society or socially and politically constructed or constituted, that's what I call social order. So every specific economic subsystem rely on a social order, society and political order in order to come into existence, in order to sustain itself. So it is anchored in a social order. So in that sense, economic relations are anchored in social relations and political relations. Or as socially and political economics is the averse of treating society as economy, which is the approach of rational choice, economic imperialism. Now, this is important, but it can be misunderstood easily. Indeed, ultimately, the approach I suggest amounts to a sort of imperialism as well, only in the opposite direction, from sociology to economics. Okay, so what's this economic imperialism he's talking about? So as we saw, political economy, or as Streak and I understand political economy, or at least as political economy, doesn't treat economics as economic law as universal. They can be treated as universal only in a particular type of social order, which means that there can be many different types of economic subsystems and economic laws depending on the type of social order. So economics, the type of discipline which economics is, and the types of the law economics, the discipline of economics talks about, they and their function is possible only in a particular type of social order. And that social order is a capitalist society. So capitalist economy is not possible without capitalist social order. And capitalist economy matures and develops to the extent that capitalist social order is matured and overwhelming. So similarly, non-capitalist economic systems, they presuppose non-capitalist social orders. But economic imperialism is the fact that to claim that capitalist economy is objective, that is, it is universally true, and if we are able to adopt an objective viewpoint, we will be able to see the reality and the truth of economic laws, irrespective of the social order we are coming from. That's another way of saying is that capitalist social order is the true social order as well. So that's economic imperialism is, as Streeck understands it, the view that economics is just like physics. It doesn't matter whether physics and physical laws are objective, irrespective of whether you are capitalist or non-capitalist. Similarly, economic laws are operative, irrespective of whether you are capitalist or not. So again, going against physical laws is like, if you ignore physical laws, you are going to try to walk through a wall, then you are going to break your, head, or hurt yourself. Similarly, if you are going against economic laws, you are going to hurt yourself. That's the economic imperialism. On the other hand, Streeck's position is that economics is not like physics. It is a particular discipline which delineates or expose or describe laws which are operative, which operate only in a particular social order, and to the extent that that social order is well developed, and to the extent that social order is well developed, and they won't operate in a different social order, different type of society and social customs, etc. Okay, but here is the catch. Here is we can here is the way we can misunderstand all this. So this is true that economy, capitalist economy, presupposes capitalist society. Okay. But it is the nature of the economy which is produced by this society that as this economy develops and matures, it actually turns this society into a non-society or into economy, so to speak. So when we say that capitalist economy depends on capitalist social order, that's not to deny that, and we shouldn't ignore the fact that capitalist economy is self-annihilating in a sense, that it eats its very conditions. So in that sense, it is complete emptiness in its pure and mature form. It eats itself, it engulfs itself. It's self-destructive in that sense. And this point probably is not that clear at this point anyway. So you can do all what you want to do is to prioritize sociology over economy, but then you are putting limits on capitalism. And capitalism doesn't like any limits, even though those limits are important for its functioning. But when you put limits on capitalism, then it's not a fully capitalist system. So it will always try to overcome and transcend those limits without realizing or even realizing that those limits are essential for its very existence. So in that sense, it is a self-destructive system. So this is in fact the domain of political economy in the 19th century. Political economy, economic theory was to identify the actor and interest underlying or hiding behind the laws of movement and of the economy, translating economic relation into social relations and showing the former to be a special case of the latter. Treating the economy as a society or as socially and politically constructed or constituted is the averse of treating the society as an economy, which is the approach of rational choice economic imperialism. Indeed, ultimately, the approach I suggest amounts to a set of imperialism as well, only in the opposite direction from sociology to. But as we said, this imperialism, this opposite imperialism, or the puts limits on economy, which economy doesn't like. So in that sense, it's not self-sustained limits, imperialism, or as the history has shown. Okay, that's enough for today. We'll continue from to begin with next time, inshallah.